Victim number 4 on the stand for a third day as Sean Combs' attorney Brian Steele grills her about her claims the mogul sexually assaulted her and her past words about him. And the government tries to shut it all down. I go through all of it, including some possible bombshells. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Mia's testimony went into a third day. She's one of the government's key witnesses in the racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking case against Sean Combs. And let me tell you, during cross-examination, there were some wow moments, including when Mia first revealed her claim that Sean Combs sexually assaulted her. Mia worked for Sean Combs for 8 years, from 2009 to 2017. She's testifying using a pseudonym, and she told the jury she witnessed Combs physically abuse Cassie Ventura on more than one occasion. She says she worked nonstop, sometimes 24 hours straight, for the mogul, which the government says makes her a victim of forced labor. Forced labor is part of the racketeering conspiracy charge. It's one of those predicate acts. Mia also told the jury on direct that Sean Combs sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions, including on his 40th birthday at the Plaza Hotel in New York. For his part, Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, and he says he never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone. Now, just to recap, Mia told the jury she worked as a personal assistant to Combs, and later they started Revolt Films together. She said part of her job was to keep tabs on Cassie Ventura for Combs, and through that part of her job, they became friends, very close, like sisters. In fact, working for Combs, the employees became a second family to Mia. That was her testimony. Her direct testimony was compelling, as she struggled to discuss being sexually assaulted, she said, by Sean Combs. There were people in the courtroom crying. I'm told even one juror was crying. But cross-examination was much, much different. And people in court say that Mia's demeanor was much different on cross than direct. And the people in the courtroom who are watching this and the jury tell me that some jurors appear to really like Brian Steele, one of the lawyers representing Sean Combs. Steele, you'll recall, represented rapper Young Thug in Atlanta and got a very, very good result for him. And now he's cross-examining Mia and other government witnesses for Sean Combs. Combs' lawyers maintain he's not a racketeer or a sex trafficker, and that the women who are labeled victims in this case had consensual romantic relationships with Combs or worked for him. Here's just a little bit of Brian Steele cross-examining Mia about her sexual assault claims. Steele asked, "Isn't it true that although unforgivable for any person to put their hands on a woman, especially a man, isn't it true that it did not happen as many times as you just said to this jury?" Madison Smizer objected, and it was overruled. Mia then answered, "Everything I've said in this courtroom is true." Steele asked, "Then why would you, if you're being sexually assaulted and your sister is being brutalized physically, why are you making a scrapbook for Mr. Combs?" Mia responded, "It's a lot more complicated than the way you phrase that. It's abuse on all levels." And now Steele, as you heard, referenced a scrapbook, and it was a scrapbook that Mia said she made for Sean Combs on his birthday. And his birthday was one of those times where she said he sexually assaulted her. Mia said about the scrapbook, "I did a lot of research, and I believe I reached out to people in his company with his archives, and then to find and order the first mention he had in the press until I'm not sure what date. Then I printed them out and put them in order and highlighted where he was mentioned." And there was also a card that went with the scrapbook that Mia was asked about. Steele said, "That's a very loving card. Would you agree with that?" Mia responded, "Yes, I'm a very loving person." Steele asked, "To the person who sexually abused you?" Mia responded, "Yes." All of that was from Friday, and Combs' team had the weekend to work on their cross of Mia. Steele questioned Mia on Monday about her resume that she had created before she started working for Combs, where she said she worked for Mike Myers, providing round-the-clock support to the comedian from 2008 to 2009. Steele pointed out that Mia said on that resume that she had thick skin. Mia responded, "I thought I did." On Friday, Judge Subramanian didn't allow the defense to present a video to the jury that showed Mia wishing a happy 44th birthday to Sean Combs. But then things changed on Monday when Combs' attorneys said it showed Mia was presenting a false persona to this jury. Now, on Friday, they had claimed she was acting during her direct testimony, where she had trouble even getting out the words to describe sexual assaults she said Combs committed against her. This is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible to take part in a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients were not properly warned about this risk. It's free to check. It takes just a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on your screen, click the link below, or go to forthepeople.com/LCDepo to see if you qualify. In that birthday video, Mia says, shameless plug, gotta put my lip gloss on, poppin'. Puff Daddy, the living legend himself, you have not only revolutionized the game, but the entire world. I am so blessed to call you my friend. Thank you for truly being one of the biggest inspirations in my life. To another 44 years of brilliance, I love you. Happy birthday, Revolt. Revolt is the film company that they started together. Now, Brian Steele questioned Mia about text messages she sent to Sean Combs after she left Revolt Films in 2017, in which she said she would always be there for him in any capacity. In another, she said she was sending him all the love in the world after Kim Porter had passed away in 2018. Now, Mia said she was under Combs's grip psychologically, and that's why she continued to send these messages despite claiming he had sexually assaulted her. Then Steele questioned whether Mia had any footage of Combs berating her or treating her badly, since she was required to carry a flip camera to film him. She said she did not, because that would have been a major breach of trust and confidentiality. Mia said she had internalized blame and shame about what she had been through with Combs, and that he had once threatened to tell Cassie about what happened between them. At one point, during a morning break, Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey objected to the nature of the questioning. She said Brian Steele was harassing Mia and adding trauma, and that there were other people watching this trial and how this was unfolding. But the judge didn't see it that way. He said there wasn't any yelling or anything like that. Now, at one point, Brian Steele asked Mia whether she had joined the Me Too money grab against Sean Combs, which drew an objection from the government. Mia testified she knew that Cassie had received a settlement because it was in the news. But Mia said when asked that she does not plan to sue Sean Combs. Steele also questioned when Mia told federal prosecutors about Combs sexually assaulting her. She said she first met with them in January of 2024, but Steele implied that she didn't bring up the sexual assaults until after she'd hired a lawyer in June of 2024. She mentioned that her therapist knew about the sexual assaults and that the conversations were privileged. Steele asked Mia after she was let go from Revolt Films in 2017 whether she was blacklisted. She said she was not, but she said that Combs took away the ABC TV show she was promised along with a credit. The ABC show was going to be a comedy based on her life working for Combs. Steele then asked her if she was let go for drinking. She said she was not. Mia said since leaving Combs' employment, she had briefly worked for Madonna. So I want to bring in someone who was in the courtroom for all of this today. He is Mel Smith. He's the host of the Watching the World show on YouTube. It's Watching the World 777. So talk to me a little bit, Mel, about what this cross-examination was like, because it sounds like Brian Steele was, again, very aggressive with Mia.
I've never seen anything like it in all of my years of watching television. I've been in the courtroom many times. I even went to the Trump trial. Brian Steele did a stellar job. I don't even know how he was able to do so well.
How is the jury reacting to what Brian Steele is doing?
I can tell that they were amazed by the way that he performed today in court, because going back to last week, Thursday, Mia told a very convincing story about what happened to her during the years with Sean Puffy Combs. However, under cross-examination, especially today, he really tore her apart inch by inch as far as what she was saying in her relationship with Sean Combs and his company.
Last Friday, Mark Agnifilo basically said after the lunch break that they believed that Mia was acting. And then today, Alexandra Shapiro, when they introduced the birthday video that they wanted to get in last week and the judge didn't allow, and then today he allowed it, she said they believed she was, presenting a false persona to the jury. That birthday video played. And what was the reaction of the jury? Because really, the jury is what matters here.
You know what it is? And for me personally, being here every day since the very beginning of the trial, seeing the video, that's not the person we saw on Thursday. This is a completely different person. Brian Steele in court has been showing her social media profile, and each slide breaks down how she has not been truthful. In fact, she said that Diddy had violated her, but she posted a picture on her social media of Sean Puffy Combs holding his crotch area. And Brian Steele's like, why would you post this of a man that has abused you and you told that he treated you in a horrific way? So today to see the video and how happy she is talking about Sean, every exhibit shows, whether it's a text message or an email, he's saying, I love you, and giving him all these hearts. It's just not the person that we saw on Thursday.
The person that you saw on Thursday, describe who she was on Thursday, because everything that we heard was that this was obviously very difficult for her. She was very soft-spoken. She came in kind of cowering. It was hard for her to even say these things, as it would be. So talk to me about what the difference was in the Mia we saw on Thursday and the Mia we saw on Friday and today.
On top of the fact that when she walked into the courtroom, the judge instructed us that we cannot draw any description of her. Even the artist could not draw her that day. They emphasized that the monitors have to be shut down. When she came in, she had a very meek presence. She kept her head down. She very often, she didn't even bring her head up. And she was crying all day long and fumbling with her words. You got the feeling that she was abused perhaps in a major way. But then the next day, under cross-examination, she came alive. She was saying things like D-Rock and I love you when they had prompted her to read her own emails that were sent to Sean Puffy Combs.
Yeah, and I know you and I had kind of talked about this before, that you said when she's asked to read these things, her tone of voice totally changed. It's like she goes back to who she really is.
Yeah, it makes you think about the word manipulation, and that's what I think is being expressed today. And I'm pretty much in the demographics of the jurors from what I see, and I would have a hard time accepting her testimony as strong as what I thought last week, Thursday. I would now say that Capricorn has been the strongest witness thus far.
Capricorn Clark, the former assistant, yeah. And, Cassie's former manager, who was a very interesting witness, who said, right. She was told if she failed a lie detector, she was going in the East River, which was nuts. So talk to me a little bit about how the jurors are reacting to today's testimony, because she's saying she met with the federal prosecutors for the first time in January of 2024, but yet Brian Steele is suggesting she didn't disclose the alleged sexual assaults by Sean Combs possibly until June of 2024 when she got a lawyer. And so that seems significant.
Yeah, just before we came out, Brian Steele brought out that she had met with the government 27 times. Can you imagine that 27 times and you don't mention anything about these allegations that she's placed on the head of Sean Puffy Combs?
But how is the jury reacting to these things that Brian Steele is saying? Like from your vantage point, because you're in there, you're writing notes, you're looking at the jury to see how they're reacting. What are you seeing on their faces? Are they pretty stoic, or are you seeing actual reactions?
Well, it came out in court today by means of Brian Steele that basically we remember that she gave her testimony about the passport being taken when she was trying to run away when they were on vacation. Well, today, Brian Steele, with a chisel, he pulled out her previous resume and he showed that on her resume, she wrote that when they went on vacation, she would be responsible to keep the passports and all important documentation so the individuals on the trip at large would not lose their important documents. So now we're starting to see a more definitive story as to why that was happening. It wasn't that they were keeping her passport from her. And this came out because she used to be the assistant for Mike Myers. And
Right.
under that jurisdiction, that's where it happened.
There was another point during a short break where Maureen Comey kind of tried to shut down this line of questioning, saying that Brian Steele was bordering on harassing Mia. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It makes it hard for you to really trust the prosecutors of the government because the way they're describing it, and all of us are sitting in the courtroom, and everybody's looking around like that's not what we saw. We didn't see yelling. We didn't see harassment. We saw him asking the questions because we have a man whose life is on the line. And so a good decision needs to be made. And then the judge reiterated how we felt in the courtroom because he said he did not see yelling, harassment, or argumentation either.
And so is Brian Steele raising his voice or is he just asking questions?
No, but he's sharp to the point. He's one of the best attorneys I've ever seen.
There was something interesting that he did point out on cross-examination as well, Mel. And he said that he questioned Mia about the fact that she sent Sean Combs a birthday text message days before Cassie filed that lawsuit in November of 2023.
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
All right. So, from your vantage point, the jurors are attentive, they're listening. And do you feel how do you feel they're taking all of this in? What are you observing? Just finally.
At the end of the day, I observed two male jurors talking to each other, and I had never seen any expression out of them. And one of them was basically giving a narrative of some point because they called a sidebar, and that gave us time to kind of pause for a second. But they were talking to each other, and I could tell that they were in agreement somehow that Brian Steele was doing a great job, and perhaps her story was not what it seemed.
Interesting. Well, we're going to keep a close eye on it. Mel Smith, we'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Now let's get to redirect by the government. Assistant U.S. Attorney Madison Smizer asked Mia whether other employees posted on social media about Sean Combs as part of their jobs, and she said they did. Smizer also asked Mia about making that birthday scrapbook. She said she did it because she thought it would make Combs happy, and if he was happy, then she was safe. And what about that birthday video? Mia said that was also part of her job. The water she was drinking in it was owned by Sean Combs, and the video was for Club Diddy. When asked, Mia said she met with the government so many times because she wanted her story to be understood. As for testifying in public, she said it made her terrified. Here's just a little bit of a reminder of what exactly Mia told the jury on her direct testimony. She got on the stand and she swore to tell the truth. Mia told the jury that Sean Combs sexually assaulted her at a penthouse at the Plaza Hotel where Combs was celebrating his 40th birthday. She recalled him giving her 2 vodka shots that hit her hard. She said Combs kissed her and put his hand up her dress. She said she woke up the next morning on a chair. Mia described other times that she says that Combs sexually assaulted her. She said she stayed at his house, and when she did, she was not allowed to lock her bedroom door. Mia said she awoke one time in 2009 or 2010 to Combs on top of her as she was sleeping on the bottom bunk. She said the assault was quick, and she felt she couldn't say no. There was another time Mia said she was packing Combs's bag, and he walked into the closet with his private parts exposed and forced her to perform oral sex. Another point that Mia made during her direct testimony was the fact that she never told anybody about these sexual assaults, and there was a reason for that. She was ashamed and she was embarrassed. Mia said, "I was going to die with this. I didn't want anyone to know ever." Smizer asked, "What, if anything, were you worried would happen if you spoke up?" Mia said, "I would have been silenced. I would have been punished. I would have been exiled from my second family. I would have had a horrible reputation. I would have lost everything." Asked why she was there testifying, this was the last question. Mia said if she didn't, she wouldn't be able to look her goddaughters in the eye and ever tell them what they should do in a similar situation. And that is exactly how Mia's 3 days on the witness stand ended. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.